Hello, welcome to the next episode of Filling In with Dante, a podcast called the DPoY NBA podcast, where with Dante away we fill him in with random people around Melbourne and the world. Marco, Holden, Jeffery, also known as, I could do a Kevin O'Connor skit, aka Marco Holden Schooner, aka Marco's Finger Schooner, aka kid named Marco Holden Jeffery. Welcome to the pod.
Sean, thanks for having me. It's an honour. It's a Herculean, nay, Odyssean task filling it for Dante while he's away, but excited to give it a go nonetheless.
Was that a fill-in for Dante joke that only Dante would get?
Yes.
But I don't know if he's listening.
He says Odyssean all the time.
Does he?
He loves his Greek mythology references.
I've never heard him say it. Yeah. I'm actually reading a Greek mythology-ish book at the moment.
Really?
Called Song for Achilles by Madeline something.
Yeah, I know the one.
Yeah,
it's one of those classic, like, they rewrite it.
Rewrite a story.
Like a modern perspective.
Yeah. Modern, but it is still set back in the day.
Yeah.
Tunics abund.
Wow.
Yeah.
You'd love to see it.
Love to see it. Just want to introduce yourself.
Hey, my name's Marco. I'm the funny half of the Jeff Van Gundy NBA tribute show. You might have met my more serious co-host Lucas last week.
That's what we call him, Lucas, last week.
Yeah. God, have a laugh. You can find my work at thedeep2.com. Can't believe it's that effing easy. Is that
that's what we say.
You can also, where else can you find me? Hey, you can find me on Triple R 102.7 FM, and if you live in Melbourne on the rare occasion. When I'm not doing audio work, I like, sunsets, long walks on the beach. So hit me up.
Just looking for some youngins to chill with. All right, now that's out of the way, because this is going to be a big pod. You've just luckily come on in the randomised schedule, but you've come on around about the midway point of the season, and we, you and I were talking last week, saying what are we going to talk about when we do this podcast, and fucking what better than mid-season awards?
So easy.
Literally so easy. A little bit meaty, but so much fun to write, and hopefully even funner to say. You heard off air what I've been doing for the last hour and a half, which involves cars and towing cars and slapping hands and slapping the Duke with mechanics, also known as panel beaters. But we've come here. I finished mine, but I've had my Virgin Jaeger bomb, which is just half already.
I'll down the hatch then.
Don't let the shot glass hit you in the nose.
Delicious.
Can of piss, and some mid-season awards to get into.
What more could a man ever dream?
I had another joke written down. I was going to say my car at the moment is like the Italian international striker, Immobile.
Very good.
Luckily, I said it within the flow of the conversation. But yeah, awards. We've added a couple of our own awards at the end of the pod, but we're going to run through all the major awards. And which one would you like to start off with?
Well, Sean, there's no better place to start than the most valuable one itself. Most valuable player of the first 41 games of the NBA season. I think also there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about here. We're probably going to be in agreement about what's going on. Who's your MVP for so far, Sean?
So with every award, we're going to give 1, 2, and 3. My number 1 is Nikola Jokic. Who's yours?
Mine is also Nikola Jokic.
Do you think he will get it?
Wow, what a tricky question to start the pod with.
Well, I could ask with what's he done, and then let's just read out a bunch of numbers. But everyone knows the argument here, and we know that the Denver Nuggets are a number 1 seed. Nikola Jokic has won 2 in a row. He's only gotten better, only gotten more efficient. With everything, at full strength for the Denver Nuggets, they are just like dominating the West. But do you think he will, before we talk about our own takes?
I think, as it stands, if the season were to end today, I'd give it like a 50-50 chance. 50 Jokic, 50 someone else. Because, voter fatigue be damned. This is just, so clearly the best player in the NBA. The player who's making his team the best. Still the most consistent player in the NBA as well. Turning up every single night and just doing incredible stuff that we've never seen before. I think there's been a bit of and I'm sure we'll get to that in a bit, but there's been a bit of a narrative for Luka Doncic, but the Dallas Mavericks are not very good at the moment. They are sitting in that sort of, middling pack in the West. Whereas, if Jokic can keep carrying this team at the top of at the top of the West until the end of the season, I think it'd be really, really hard for people not to vote for him again.
Yeah.
That being said, there are so many MVP candidates this season, and I think there's so many people who have votes who will look for any reason to vote for anyone else.
If Jokic did win it, he would be the fourth player to win 3 MVPs, going along with Larry Bird, Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain. Yeah, it is very close, but at the end of the season, if he's played 82 games, like you're going to get into some games played for some of these guys. But if he's played 82 games and they've won 60 games, and Jamal Murray doesn't look like he's averaging 50 points, Michael Porter Jr., you saw him today, like he was just missing a bunch of bunnies. Aaron Gordon, maybe an all-star, but
Aaron Gordon, he's scoring their second most points per game, and that just doesn't scream to the pedigree of Murray and MPJ, does it? Like, he shouldn't be that high up the pecking order. But, I mean, I've got here, the fact that Aaron Gordon is in the All-Star conversation is so much, as much Jokic's doing as it is Aaron's himself.
Yeah. So we both have Luka Doncic as our number 2. For me, the reason I've put him at number 2 and not number 1 is that this is, like you said before, it's very Russell Westbrooky. Like, he's very much like, okay, you're putting up some fucking incredible numbers, and I'll spoil it a little bit. I've got him high up in the Most Improved Player award because he's just gotten better and better with every season. Next season he might average 40 points. So it's just unbelievable. But I didn't, when I was doing it with Dante, I didn't vote for Russell Westbrook during that MVP season, and for the same reason I'm not going to vote for Luka Doncic, because he might be the most valuable, but he also isn't winning the most games, and there is the scales of valuable and also being actually able to win the games. Yeah,
definitely. I personally would say he's having a different season to Russell Westbrook. I think there's the argument that the heliocentrism of that Westbrook team is part of the reason they weren't winning a lot of games. Whereas I don't think what Lucas is doing is really causing the Mavs to be bad. It's that their roster is kind of average. Christian Wood and Spencer Dinwiddie shouldn't be fluctuating between your second best player if you want to be like a contender in the West. But the sort of the narrative case for him is so strong as well, just because he's had he's had 60 point, 20 rebound, triple double. He's won so many games in the clutch. He looks absolutely exhausted and haggard every night out there. He's just absolutely giving it all. When you compare him to Jokic, who it'll get to the third quarter and it'll be like, well, I'm not going to take any more shots. I've hit all 5 of them, so why would I bother? I don't think that speaks to him being the MVP, but if you're a casual basketball fan and you're watching Dallas Mavericks games, you're thinking that guy is absolutely dragging them through the mud.
Yeah, I think this is going to do more for his MVP case next year, because let's say they go out and have a big free agency and sign Billy Bob, and all of a sudden they're just they're in the position that the Denver Nuggets are in, where they're a top 4 seed and they look like an actual force in the West. I think next year you and I are going to be sitting here going, oh, okay, so should we vote for him for MVP? His stats aren't as big as they were before, but then we'll say, oh, remember what he did last season where he averaged 34 points, 9-9, and just carried an absolute piss weak teams like the 7th seed. I think we're going to look back on this season and use this as a little bit of reason for voting for him next year, which is that's just my opinion. I don't know what the actual vote's going to be, but I think you and I just value winning a lot more.
Yeah, and he is hoping that happens next season, because at a certain point, it's going to become really sad to see Luka Doncic playing like this, and only being given the side pieces, for want of a better word there, to be a 5 or a 6 seed in the West. That's sort of, it feels like you're squandering something.
Yeah, definitely. Finally, first disagreement. Who have we got third place? I've gone with Steph Curry, and who have you got?
I've gone with Jason Tatum.
Why would you have Steph 4th, and it's just a matter of picking and choosing, or what?
I think my fourth place would be a dead heat between a lot of players.
Yeah.
I think Giannis has a good case. I think Embiid will start to have a good case as the season goes on. Kevin Durant certainly has a great case as well.
Yeah.
KD and Giannis are both injured at the moment. Embiid's just coming off a big injury, and also Philly doesn't look that good. But for me, Tatum, I think he's maybe behind Jokic, he's been the second most consistent player in the league. He's currently 4th in total minutes played, behind some players like Mikal Bridges, who have been forced to, play 36 a night on an absolutely depleted roster. 31, 8, 4. He's had the 40-point games. He's had the 50-point games. He also doesn't look like he's completely straining himself to win games, Like, he does look like there's... This season, you can tell he's being like, all right, I disappointed in the playoffs. Like, is there that another level that I can unlock? Yeah. I don't think he'll finish the season this high up my belt either, because I think there's a lot of players such as your Stephen Curry who are coming back from injury and who are going to have really good second halves of the season, particularly if he's coasting on a 1 seed and Steph's trying to get the Golden State Warriors into a a playoff position. Yeah. But I think at the moment, as it stands after 41 games, I think you got to recognize Tatum.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Again, I've just gone with Steph for homer reasons as well. Talk about the games played. He's played 68% of the season. So it's he missed a month after that shoulder injury, but it's still almost 70% of the season. Where are we? If he played 50%, then I probably wouldn't be voting for him. But then I've also sort of gone back on my word a little bit and said, while we do value winning, I've got Steph here as opposed to Jason Tatum. It's Jason Tatum, best player on the best team. There's also a little bit of, and I don't know if anyone else thinks this, but I also, like I said, with the Lucas stuff, factoring in the season prior, Steph Curry wasn't really in the MVP discussion last year, but after that playoff run and after the night playoff run and those finals where he had 43 points in game 5.
But didn't he win an award for that already, Sean?
What, the Larry Bird for finals MVP?
The Michael Jordan.
The Michael Jordan award. The Bill Russell.
The Bill Russell.
Is it?
Yeah, actually, it was the only one that actually had a name before this.
True.
It's always been the Bill Russell.
But he's only continued playing that well. But yeah, if we're in the play-in games, I honestly wouldn't give him a vote because winning matters.
Yeah, and I was looking at before the pod. I forgot to write it down, but your record with Steph, you're 2 games above 500. Your record without Steph, you're 2 games under 500. Yeah. So it's not this outsized impact.
So what you're saying is it's Moses Moody's fault.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, cool.
Exactly right.
Glad we got to the bottom of that, and it's absolutely nobody else's fault. Do you want to add any more or move on?
No, that sounds good. I've said this on the JVG NBA Trivia Show. You can go check that out wherever you get your podcast, by the way. But I think there are just so many legit MVP candidates this season. There's it could end up completely different in the next 40
We didn't even mention Giannis. And he's out of our minds at the moment because he's injured and had a couple of single-point scoring games. Yeah. But
and then one step under that, you have players like Donovan Mitchell, who just is not going to be in anyone's top 3, but is nevertheless averaging a very, very efficient 28 on and just impacting his team in a huge way.
Yeah, and if the Grizzlies finish with the 1 seed, it's what about John Morant and.
For sure.
Fucking interesting. I was watching that game today, Cavs Grizz, and you know how the Ringer did NBA ranked, and they ranked all 100 players, and they're sort of changing it with how it goes. They had Zion as the 10th best player and Ja as the 11th. And I was just that's just interesting. You look at Ja and it's can he lead this team to a title? And it's fuck, he's the 10th best player. That seems really low. I don't know. And then Donovan Mitchell, what's he 15? Kawhi Leonard was 23rd. It's fuck, all these dudes who are I don't know. It just stuck with me.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. The Grizz are weird because I don't think I would put anyone else on that roster in the top 30. But
Oh, I would.
You'd put Triple J in there.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it in a minute.
We'll talk about it in a minute.
Potentially the
Desmond
defensive player
Bain
of the year
might be higher up the Ringers list than Triple J at the moment. I'm just gonna hazard a guess, but
let's not check that. We will talk about Jaren Jackson in a minute, but let's talk about the Rookie of the Year. It's these first 2 awards are quite cut and dry.
I know, and also I think we've been having the same thoughts about them. Just from what's on the page in front of me.
Yeah, tune in for fucking groupthink circle. But first place, Paolo Banchero. I'm happy if you just want to talk about him.
There's not much to say here. He's just so clearly playing the best basketball out of anyone in that rookie class. Like, he's got the best averages. He's not efficient, but he's playing on the third worst team in the league, so that doesn't matter. He looks like the leader of his team. You can see how he's going to fit, when this team is good, or if he's on another team and they're good. He just looks like an
NBA player.
A grown NBA player.
All right, so second and third, I've gone with Walker Kessler and Ben Mathurin, and you've gone Ben Mathurin then Walker Kessler. Is this a big? Did this take a lot of thought, or is this the rookie of the year, second and third place, and it doesn't matter?
Yeah, I mean, splitting hairs here. Mathurin just looks like such a contributor. I think the only reason I have him second is because I feel like he's contributing the second most behind Paolo.
That's how it goes, isn't it?
But this Indiana team, I think they're really punching above their weight considering how much growth and movement they have to do. And if you're if you're averaging 15, 16 points, coming off the bench, looking like a fully developed six-man in your first season, then that's pretty impressive.
I mean, he's shooting the ball poorly, and in December, I've got him on my fantasy team. In December, it was like some fucking some 10%ers from the floor and stuff, and I was like, oh no. And then friend of the program, Jackson, said, are you going to drop him? I'm like, no, I'm holding on to him because at the end of the year, when they're out of the play-in race, he might start and play 36 minutes.
I mean, he started today.
Yeah, it's weird that he's not starting though. And Andrew Nembhard that's fuck off. It's just you can see what he is as an NBA player. I completely understand why you would have him there. He's you could say he's the second most exciting rookie. I've gone with Walker Kessler, or as we call him, the White Rudy Gobert. Or he's
the inverse of Croissant Kessler. Yeah,
Croissant Kessler. I just go with him because he might actually be poor man's Jakob Poeltl right now. He might actually just be like an NBA player. If you put him on any contender, he might be coming off the bench and sometimes finishing games and bringing an Ivica Zubac level. Where it's just what are we voting for in the rookie of the year? Are we voting for who's got the most potential, who had the most 30-point games, or just who's the most NBA ready prospect? Paolo wins all those things. But yeah, I've gone with Walker Kessler second just because he's an actual contributor.
Yeah, it's incredible how much he's contributing and how you can just see the blueprint all there. You can see how all of his skills are going to develop into one of those very dominant defensive centers. 2 blocks a game on 19 minutes is just so silly. And I think I might even talk about this later in the pod. It's just also so good that they found a role for him in a team where they have 2 other 7-footers. Vando, who plays kind of a slightly undersized center role as well. And they're still finding 19 minutes a game, not just 19, spot minutes, go out there, have fun, but 19 minutes where he's actually impacting the game. He's actually a very important part of their setup. Yeah,
and they're losing recently, Utah, but they're still a winning team. They've definitely impressed.
God, they've got so much goodwill in my mind from that beginning of the season because they've actually been not very good.
No, they've been the opposite. Yeah. I wanted to be a little bit of a twat and try and put in Jaden Ivey here over Ben Mathurin, but it's just I literally compared him. I did the basketball reference compare. Just every single thing Benedict Mathurin does is just a little bit better than Jaden Ivey is doing it. It's there's nothing here.
Maybe Ivey's also having to carry maybe an outsized role on the Pistons because no Cade, and they were already one of the worst teams in the league with Cade. So
it's a hard gig.
Yeah.
Really good Instagram handle, Poison Ivy.
Damn.
That's spelled with the EY.
Wow.
Obviously he would. Poison Ivy with no he's probably taken.
I wonder what he wears for Halloween.
I know what Bradley Beal does. The Joker. Ivy and Mathurin I've written down here are card-carrying members of the What Number Does It Start With club.
Yeah, and let's hope it's
pour one out for Dante.
Let's hope it's a 1-year membership.
Yeah, it won't be. It fucking won't. You already know the answer to that.
Well, is the juice worth the squeeze? We're at another one.
One thing to mention again, Walker Kessler played against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Was Rudy Gobert in that game?
He got injured 5 minutes in, which says it all, really. Ducking Walker.
But what did Walker have? 20, 21, and 3 or some bullshit. Yeah. Okay, well, Good timing to do that right before our awards votes. Any further comments?
No, that all sounds good to me, Sean.
Right, crack the Knuckles. Defensive Player of the Year. Who's your Defensive Player of the Year?
I got Brook Lopez. And I mean, let's just be clear. We're talking about the first 41 games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's just be clear. I'm talking about 63% of the first 41 games of the year when it comes to Jaren Jackson. Let's mention, just so it's easier for the people who are putting this in their ear holes. Fuck. I've got Jaren Jackson, you've got Brook Lopez, and then I've got Brook Lopez, Nick Claxton, you've got Nick Claxton, Jaren Jackson. So it's these three. I don't think there are really many others in the discussion. Giannis was, but he wasn't.
I wrote down OG Anunoby at one point, but that was like I love having a perimeter player in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. And, you know, I've worn out the Drew Holiday horn in recent years.
But I think, let's talk about Nick Claxton at the end. The big debate here is Jaren Jackson or Brook Lopez, and why have you gone with Brook over Triple J?
I mean, I just think he's been like the most consistent player on the Bucks. Full stop. He's been I think he's really been the linchpin of their defense since, you know, the last
5 years ago.
5 years, which is incredible considering
Giannis won it twice.
But this season he just looks better than he's looked in the past 5 seasons. Like, he's just like, nobody is touching the paint at all when they're playing the Bucks. And obviously, when we know how it works. We know how the roaming combination of, you know, Giannis and Brook works. But this year it's just like complete rim denial from Brook Lopez. Sometimes he looks like more athletic than he has. Like, in the last
I was
few
just
years.
going to say that.
And it's
he's jumping higher.
Weren't you injured for 50 games last season? Didn't you look bad in the playoffs?
And it was a back injury, which is scary.
Yeah, exactly right. Especially for what is he, 34? Like...
I thought you were going to say, what is he, 7'7"? Mid 30s.
7'7" Brook Lopez. Maybe that's what's skewing my picks here. So I think the fact that he looks better, and the Bucks are now back in the league's best D, which they weren't last season. They sort of, you know, obviously without him they fell off. But the fact that they like fell down into, you know, the mid-teens and now they're back up to I think they're third at the moment in defensive rating. I think just the impact he's having on a team that already is just full of good defenders, has a good defensive scheme, the fact that this is his best season, it just deserves some recognition. Yeah. Even if it's just through the first 41 games of the season.
It's a good case, and I like the career achievement award where it's like, you know, you've helped Giannis win this award. You should also deserve a little bit of praise. Like, was he in the top 3 when Giannis won it? God,
I don't think so.
But he's been in the conversation. But I say Jaren Jackson Jr. And I'll first debunk the games played, because he's played 28 today, but these are stats before today. That's 63% of the season. Where do we draw the cutoff line? 50%, where it's like, okay, you're not actually, like, no one's saying Anthony Davis, right? Since the 15th of November, when Jaren Jackson Jr. came back from his injury, the Grizz have had a 107.4 defensive rating. In the past 3 years, that's only been achieved twice, by last year's Celtics and the year prior's Utah Jazz. That's obviously the number one defense by this season. The second best
teams that had the DPoY on them both seasons.
True.
Yeah.
Fuck you should come over to this side of the fucking table. You're helping me out here.
Now, you say your piece, Sean.
But Jaren Jackson Jr. is just he's putting it all together. Yes, he still fouls, and today against the Cavs, he was on the bench with 6 minutes to go in a close game because he had 5 fouls. But 4-5, you know, while he is in foul trouble, in 27 games, he's had 89 blocks. I don't like the nickname, the Block Panther. But just going even further past that, when he's on the court, the Grizz are keeping opponents to negative 8.1 points per 100 possessions, coming from cleaning the glass. That is behind only Rudy Gobert, Draymond Green, and Christian Koloko. How about that? Your guy. Did you buy his rookie card
Never
yet?
did.
Well, it's probably
his stock's been falling, actually.
yeah. So you should probably actually buy it. Just ask me, who's been buying Pat Williams stock for years. I'm drowning. But when it comes to just defending the rim, not just the court, he is holding opponents to negative 10.9, well, minus 10.9% at the rim when he's on the court, which is like, just over 1 in every 10 shots that's attempted at the rim, he's just making them turn around. That's pretty fucking good. And I also just like, a little bit of a storyline pick here. It's like Brook Lopez, obviously you've got the stuff with him and Giannis being like the two-man terror on defense, and Brook Lopez is a very ground-bound big, and that whole entire defense just funnels it into him and just says, all right, Brook, deal with it. And that's so cool. He's a DPoY candidate for a reason. But Jaren Jackson Jr., I just love the theory of him, where he starts off next to Steven Adams. He starts at the 4, and he's quick enough to hang with any guards that he gets switched onto. He's quick enough to hang with the 4s that might be more mobile. But then at the end of the game, like, the theory is, okay, if Steven Adams can't play, you can just run Jaren Jackson at the 5. You can switch, you can sag, you can do whatever you want. And I would just much rather just award that to the young up-and-coming Defensive Player of the Year, who could be doing this for the next 7 years, as opposed to Brook Lopez, which might be a bit cruel, who's just doing it at age 34. And on that, Nick Claxton, they're very much playing a drop coverage there, and it's like switch in case of emergency, where it's like they will do whatever they can, even if it is give up a wide open 3-point, just to be like, Nick Claxton, we just need you to jump under that circle thing that's got the net hanging from it. But yeah, just Jaren Jackson Jr., if he has a very similar or exact same case as Brook Lopez, like the Bucks might be the third best defense in that whole phase since November 15th. The Grizz are the number 1 defense. But you've just got that case. I would just much rather go with Jaren Jackson Jr. for the versatility of it.
And maybe I have been a bit cruel putting him below Nick Claxton in retrospect. You've made an excellent case, Sean. I would say
you also helped with this, I think.
And what was it? Per our good friends at Basketball Forever, 49 blocks in 14 games.
Yeah,
he's doing that thing that you love when defenders do, where they just stack, steals and blocks. Where it's not like. I feel like Brook Lopez, he's a 2 or 3 a game, and that's great. But Jaren Jackson's, no, I'm going to have 6, I'm going to have 7, I'm going to have 8.
But usually sometimes when you see those guys that might be hunting blocks, like Hassan Whiteside, always...
He's not a Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah, exactly right. Like he's got Brook Lopez, but it's like he is also doing that cool thing where the ball goes into the stands.
Yeah, and then maybe even a bit of that Giannis going on, where he is going to just be like following the ball, following the action, like everywhere for the Grizz. Because they know that they at least have big body Steven Adams there in the paint to for a little bit of deterrence.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say is I'm almost certain, unless he gets into Triple J, will actually win this award. So we'll give the halftime award to Brook.
Okay. So
I think he has, just purely on consistency, he's had the better first half of the season. Yeah.
So just being nice to him. So that's...
But I mean, that's sad because we're being like, oh, that's great, you're finally going to get this Lifetime Achievement Award. Yeah. He finished 10th the year that Giannis won it, by the way. Wow. Yeah, so...
I tell you what I would love to see, and one thing the AFL does great here is they'll have like career Brownlow votes.
Oh God, you're filling in for Dante perfectly, Sean.
Is that what he said? Oh, no, AFL jokes. I fucking hate footy, but I watch Brownlow every single year. It's so much fun. But you've just got... It'll be like, oh, Adam Cooney's on the screen. Oh, not many career Brownlow votes. And it's like, oh, Gary Ablett, is he leading the league in fucking career Brownlow votes, or Simon Black or whoever it is. Just an absolute Brownlow darling there. But I'd love to see where it's just like career DPoY votes, where it's like, oh, Brook Lopez is like 3rd all time in career DPoY votes, but he's never won one, and stuff like that.
That would be good. That would be good. I mean, I doubt Brook would be up that high considering how his career turned around. But maybe someone like Drew Holiday might just have like the most votes for a guy
he must
over
be
his
getting
entire career, even though he's rarely finishes top 5 or anything like that.
But I think the only pin in that is that I could be wrong here. I think they might like change the voting system, so it's like 1 year you might get 300 votes, next year you get like 100, and that's still a win. I think they might have changed.
Right. Well,
so it's hard to track.
Why don't we go do some off mic research about this later on?
Or you just
if you got some free time, Sean.
No,
I know you're a busy man.
I'm cooking a beautiful porterhouse.
Oh, really?
And editing.
It's in the fridge?
Yeah. Where do you keep your steaks?
At the store.
Oh no, bro. After the pod, again, first pod we're doing together 1-on-1. After the pod is very much like drink beer, edit, and then maybe watch a movie.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of exertion.
Yeah. I do the I mean, this is a very special treat for you listeners. You get the two editors in an episode together.
Kylie.
I'll have the video rendering. I'll just play 2K while it does it, you know, because I feel like, well, number one, I won't bore you with the extreme details, but my laptop is just absolutely cooked. I replaced the battery. I got a battery off Amazon because the battery wasn't charging anymore. Replaced it, was like, God, I feel like a bloody smarty pants. Yeah. Let it run down to 2% as you do to extend the life of it. Yeah. Plug it in. Not charging. So doing anything that requires rendering audio or video takes bloody hours.
Do you just use that, or
no? I just use this. Yeah.
You don't have a desktop or something?
I got a desktop, but
it's not good.
Same thing. It's got like a hard. It's got a you know, it doesn't have an SSD in it. I've been meaning to put an SSD in it for about 3 months. So yeah, basket case really.
When's your birthday?
September. I'll get an SSD before then, mate.
Fingers crossed.
Don't worry.
Move on to the next award. Sixth Man of the Year. This is better than previous years, because it's always been like, you know, you've got people that are like Jordan Clarkson, Lou Williams, and I'm like, oh, but what about Thaddeus Young? And then I do that because I'm a prick, but but it is like somewhat warranted. I'm just fucking sick of the scorers, the microwave scorers off the bench. It's just stupid.
Is your favourite player Jordan Poole?
Efficient scorers off there.
Yeah, right.
But we're in agreement here with the first two. We've got Malcolm Brogdon winning it and Christian Wood coming second. Both, similar in that, you know, you score a lot of points off the bench. But Malcolm Brogdon, I'll say my part, it's just you're part of the engine that makes this team one of the best teams in the whole entire planet and might end up winning a title. A little bit of an embarrassment of riches, and we know why Malcolm Brogdon got traded to the Celtics, because there were just so many injury concerns. It was like Daniel Tice, Aaron Nesmith, and a fucking second-round pick. It's like, okay, then the league must be scared of his fucking injury history because of that. But he's stayed healthy, and he's just come in. He's just a grown man coming off the bench, doing what Jordan Poole can't do this year, which is not only drill so many threes. I think he's second in the league in three-point percentage. Yeah. But just like, he's just a responsible point guard who just puts everyone in place, and it just works. What's your reason for putting Brogdon at number one?
Yeah, all of that. He does a lot without doing too much as well. You know, they're not giving him the license to just throw shots up every time he touches the ball, which, you know, is what you see. Yeah, even in recent years, like players like Jordan Clarkson, hey, Jordan Poole. You know, that's kind of been their prerogative, is like, get on the floor. Just flamethrower. We don't mind if you only hit 43% because like we just need
bench
that.
Points are hard to come by.
Yeah, exactly right. But yeah, just like you said, it's just, come on, you run the offense. You're a really good decision maker. You're another good defender on a team that just has so many good perimeter defenders. I think he's also just looked. He's looked better than I thought he would at the beginning of the season. I didn't think he was completely washed or anything like that, but I was like, like, is he still the player that he is? And he's just been completely solid. Yeah. And I think that's what you want from your sixth man, more than 20 points a game. You just want
consistency.
You know, and like sturdiness. Someone who you can rely on, not for production, but to not make mistakes.
I think this is more in the Manu Ginobili mold rather than the Lou Williams mold, which is like so fucking hot. Yeah. It's like, just actual... puts everyone in place, just sets table for the bench. When again, bench points are hard to come by, but if you can get them from your point guard and also just from the lesser scorers off the bench and finishes games, awesome. Yeah,
and I mean, you know, one way in that Manu mold where it's like, okay, you are clearly, you know, in pure talent terms, you're a better player than this role. Like, you could be the starting point guard on a NBA team. But maybe the best thing for you right now and the best thing for the team right now is if you're not. The only thing is, I don't know. I don't know if Brogdon, you know, if Tatum and Brown are having crap game, I don't think Brogdon's good for 35, 40 points.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. But that's it. That's just going to happen. Like, if your best player isn't going to score 30 points, you're probably going to lose the game. It's not Brogdon's fault that he's not just like a microwave. He's going to drill 6 threes, which is completely fair. We've both got Chris Wood for second place here. This is more in the microwave mold, but it's like a little bit less as a face-up center and just a really good, a good guy that comes in at the end of the first quarter and Luka Doncic goes, "Oh, cool! It's not Dwight Powell anymore. Now I've just found my next 3 assists." It's quite strange actually, and maybe there's a little bit of depressing his market there. He started 16 out of 41 games. Maybe there's a little bit of depressing his market because they obviously lowballed him in contract extensions and he declined it. But also we know that the Mavs want cap space heading into this free agency. But yeah, why have you gone with Chris Wood at 2?
Yeah, he's just looked like the player that we all thought he would be on both ends. His shooting has looked really, really good. I always, whenever he takes a 3, I'm like, are you really a 3-point shooter? It always goes in. And I think I think just like you said, he's the player that Luka kind of relies on the most. He's like, I know if I put you in the right spot, you're going to make the right decision from there. There's still a lot of relying on Luka Doncic to create the space for you and throw you the perfect pass. But it's certainly not a criticism if you can deal with that well. I don't think he'll be coming off the bench by the end of the season. Yeah,
especially because Maxi Kleber's out until like day 1 of the playoffs or something.
Yeah, and it's just I just think they'll be a better team if he's starting.
Yeah, I mean, so Dorian Finney-Smith's come back from his injury like yesterday or the day before. Maybe they do. Well, so are you saying by the end of the year he won't be in contention for 6-man because he won't be eligible? He might
just be floating around that 50% game started, 50% games off the bench.
Yeah. Do you remember that year in 2013 or 14 when Rudy Gobert just had eclipsed Enes Kanter? Like Enes Kanter got traded to OKC.
Yeah.
And because of that, Rudy Gobert only started 35 games because it was after the trade deadline. But in those games, Utah had the best defense by like a long way. And it was like, oh my God, this guy is going to be a defensive player of the year. He was technically eligible for 6-man of the year.
Right.
So it's like an opposite of that effect where it's like, oh, he's eligible. It's like, oh, then he starts like 1 too many games.
Yeah.
But
look, you'd hate to win 6-man of the year on a technicality.
I would have loved to see it.
Yeah.
And then third place, you've gone with Benny Math. I think for most of the reasons you've mentioned in terms of volume scorer and for his rookie of the year case. I've gone with Bones Highland. Just so he's in the discussion.
Just keep him in the conversation, man.
Because keep him in the conversation. Keep him at the frontal lobe, because in our preseason predictions, I predicted him for 6-man of the year. Not because I thought he was going to get it, because I thought he'd be in the discussion. So I'm correct. He's averaging 13 points a game, 3.2 assists in 20 minutes. Let me get his splits. I'll snooze his shit. Am I right? Because that's where the money is. The fucking splits. Listen to this. In the month of January, no, that's the wrong month. It's getting really hard to fucking.
Dearie me.
It's getting hard. What number does it start with? Shut up.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll give you the canned version of my Benny Math over Bones' case, and just for the record, out of everyone in our group chat, that's the
4-man wave plus Marco.
Plus Marco, myself. I'm the most with you on the Bones in the 6-man of the year conversation. Put it there, bud.
For our non-Patreon listeners, we shook hands.
I actually do think it's a good call. Like, I think maybe not this year, like looking at the numbers, but like he's got the mold for it and he's on a team where he can do it. But yeah, Benny Math's numbers are just better. Just plain and simple.
Yeah, Benny Math is just like he's Bones Highland with bigger shoulders. And like 4 inches. One thing to mention here, again, there's as soon as you get down to the third in 6-man of the year, it's a little bit of a shit discussion. But the betting favourite is Russell Westbrook. The fuck's with that? Is it because he wears yellow and gold?
Well, I mean, he is technically putting up, 6-man of the year numbers. But
I'll read them out. Started 3 games. I think they were the first 3, and then
he rested 1. Has been off the bench in every single other.
He is averaging 15.7 points, 7.8 assists, 6.6 rebounds, shooting 42% from the floor, 29% from behind the arc. and 67% from the free throw line.
How many turnovers?
That's the big one, 3.6.
Yeah, so
which is the same as last year. So he's putting up similar numbers than when he was starting.
Yeah. And he was in the conversation last year.
I would be quite mad if he wins Sixth Man of the Year on a 13th seed.
Yeah, and also, like, he's just not an effective sixth man. Like, it's not like they bring Russell Westbrook on and they're like, oh, this is the thing we need to keep the game going. It's like, no, you're mitigating your losses by having him come off the bench. And he has actually been solid. Like, he's been fine in like the last, I don't know, 20, 25 games, as opposed to the first 3 games of the season where he actually looked like completely and utterly hopeless. Like, it was like, we're talking about Russell Westbrook again. But like, how is this keep happening where it just keeps regressing and regressing and regressing? But yeah, you can't be like, this role is making our team better. It's just like, we have $40 million of Russell Westbrook and we're trying to hide it as best we can.
Yeah.
And so it might be a good coaching decision rather than like a good playing decision.
And I'm sure he looks good because he's replacing Patrick Beverley. So it's like, oh, wow, you're scoring 10 more points than Patrick Beverley. It's like, but that's a fucking really shit roster.
Yeah.
Should
we talk about the one other omission here? Your boy, Jordy P.
Well, it's not an omission because he doesn't deserve to be there. Yeah. It's an omission because he's not playing good basketball, which really sucks because I think a few people on our preseason awards, I'll get it up, picked him, and he should be there because he got paid to do exactly that.
Yeah.
But, all right, who were the 6 man? Dante picked Jordan Poole, you picked Brogdon, I picked Bones, Alessio picked Jordan, and Lucas picked Malcolm Brogdon. He was supposed to be there, but he isn't, and it's just, he looks so good when they stagger the lineups and put him with Draymond Green, where Draymond Green's the initiator and Jordan Poole is playing the Steph role. And I was really hoping he was going to look better with Andre Iguodala, but he played like 5 minutes and then just rested for the next 3 games, which was a little bit concerning. It's like he could do it last year. He could come off the bench and score, and this season he can't come off the bench and score. And what you wanted him to come off the bench and score and distribute and make the young guys look good. But instead of adding something, he's just taken away something. Yeah. And when he starts, he averages like 30 points.
Yeah.
Which isn't something that a 6 man of the year should be doing starting.
In the 22 of 44 games that he's come off the bench, he's averaging 5, 2, and 5, which is whatever. But 40% from the field, 29% from 3. Even 80% from the free throw line is bad for Jordan Poole.
He led the league last year.
Yeah, I know.
It was like 93. Yeah. And the crowd gets really upset when he misses them. Yeah. They're just like, what are you doing different?
All the baddies in San Francisco just shaking their heads.
Yo, we got to sign that GoFundMe because it's going to be some blood baddies next bloody Chase Center game. Here, Bob Myers went up to that fan in Washington and asked him to
come
Bob
Myers, my mate.
Yeah, your mum's work friend's friend. He asked that fan in Washington to come to Boston because you know how Draymond was playing like shit. Did you watch the Washington game?
No.
Draymond was like not an NBA player, and then some fan said like, "You're not a Hall of Famer."
Oh yeah, no, I heard about this.
And he just like every single backdoor pass, he threaded it like 5 times. It was like this. That's literally you. Just 10 minutes later, do it before as well.
So what do you need?
Hit 2 threes back to back.
You need a New England racist. You need like an Instagram model. What does Steph need? Just his loving wife or something.
Probably the power of Christ or something.
Yeah. Clay, maybe have like a boat sitting in the front row.
Clay's been playing well with Annie's boat.
I'm just saying. He
could dog Rocco. Fuck, we have a laugh. We actually don't. That's not funny. Shout out to Dante for the abrupt. We actually don't.
Yeah.
But it's not cool. And I know Free Dawkins. I don't want to buy a Rocco shirt. Oh, fuck. NBA highlight got shooters out here. We'll do one more and then we'll take a break. Most improved player of the year. Who have you got down as your most improved player?
So my first place is going to Larry Markkinen, who, I think however this season ends up, he's going to be in the conversation.
We just want to be close.
He just looks like the definition of an MIP for me. Last season he played pretty well, but he played like a role on a Cavs team, and it was more like he was a victim of circumstance more than anything else. It's like, oh, okay, well, we have 3 7-footers who like all need to start. I guess we'll start all of them. And, you know, he just had never really looked like he lived up to his potential from that second season with Chicago, where there were flashes of it, but it was still like, all right, you know, you're a stretch four, you're a sit in the corner, and we'll hit, you know, we'll hit you with 3-pointers.
Yeah.
In Utah, he's just found this home where he can maximize his skill set. He'll probably be an all-star this season, you know, probably a reserve. But like he looks like he'll be a perennial all-star. Like if he's the best or second best player on a team, like he's always going to be in that conversation. Yeah. And just his numbers have been crazy. You watch him play and you're like, I had no idea you could do all of this. Like, I didn't know you could put the ball to the floor like that. Utah have just created this system where they can get a mismatch for him on every single offensive possession. And then he's had the huge games. He's had the, you know, the huge scoring games, the clutch moments. And it's just such a turnaround from the player from last year.
Yeah. I really like that case as well, just because he's like 27 or 26. It's not like a guy who's just had an opportunity. He's actually like built stuff on his game.
It's not. I hate the third season in the league MIP. That's my least favorite.
Yes, and the CJ McCollum where it's like, oh, you're starting all of a sudden, you're getting like double the minutes. You wrote an article on him, which was great, breaking down how he does get his points. December 13th, man, we've had a Christmas break.
I know, we have had a bit of a silly season.
I need to do that myself.
I promised you an article before Christmas, and then I just completely abandoned it.
Oh, on the Pels?
Yeah.
I'd do it after Christmas.
Yeah.
I've gone with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as my most improved player because I love the leaps, and you'll get it as well in my second player. I love the leaps where it's like, okay, you're clearly good, and you've just somehow transcended it to be like an actual difference maker who can define a championship level team or a playoff level team. He's also probably going to be a first time All-Star. But not even just like getting scoring up from 24.5 to 30. Like he's averaging 30 points a game, and it's a little bit depressed because 5 or 6 people are this season. But it's still a fucking accomplishment, especially for a guy on a very bad team. Last season he was shooting 45% from the floor, still fine. Now he's shooting 50% from the floor. His went from 30% from 3 to 35% from 3. Getting to the line like a fucking madman. Was taking 7.2, now he's taking just over 10. And
is he still the best clutch player in the league as well?
Yeah, there's that, which is just like a nice little tidbit to sprinkle on top. And also just like, look at his fucking roster. It's like, you know, Chet Holmgren might be good, but we're not going to know for a year. Like he's going out there with Mike Muscala, 2 of the fucking Jalen Williams. Is Lou Dort the second best player or Josh Giddey?
Probably Giddy.
Yeah. But it's
logo Josh has been good. Yeah.
Right. Sorry for the abrupt break, but we just had the fright of our day.
Our lives, I would say.
Yeah. Well, we thought we lost fucking 47 minutes of podcasting, but luckily Audacio's auto recover saved it for us. But I was talking about SGA and how he has just added the 3-point shot, but just gave himself found an elite skill that can warp defenses, and his paint scoring is just like something that for the next couple of years could be like the reason why their offense ticks so well, because it's just an unexplainable fucking elite skill. And what did you want to add on top of that?
Yeah, all I was going to say is like, we know he had this skill set in him last season. Although, as you pointed out, his 3-point shooting's gotten better. He has added the paint scoring, in this completely elite way. I think he's also just made OKC so watchable. Last season, you're really scrounging for, good minutes in an OKC game, despite them having Shai, who was already at a very elite level. I think he would have been an all-star candidate if he hadn't pulled the plug. Sorry if I already said that as well.
Yeah, it's me too. Guys, are really sorry.
But and then Josh Giddey, who was having a really fun, exciting season. It was like, okay, but how much good Josh Giddey are we going to see in this game? Whereas now it's just okay, so they're a 500 team, but they're a fun 500 team. They're a team with room to grow, not a team that's kind of has exhausted a 500 team that's exhausted all their avenues and is stuck in a rut.
Don't answer this question because it might be its own podcast in its own. But it's just a little bit interesting. Do OKC have enough to actually push and win a title? Shai is going to be an All NBA guard. How good's Chet? They might get like the 10th pick this draft.
But they can just trade all their picks for the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, there's that as well.
I mean, I think.
Didn't I say don't answer the question?
Yes.
No, I'm going to save that for 45 minutes with someone else.
Yeah.
Most improved player, I got Shea, you got Larry Marketing. Who's your number 2?
My number 2 is Tyrese Halliburton, and now you've written here, and this is the thing that I said that cursed the recording, so I'm going to just check on it, and that's the last comment we're going to make on it. You've written here, I don't like the young player got more minutes and now they're the most improved, so I'm not including Tyrese. Now, he's actually playing less minutes in Indiana than he is in Sacramento. I imagine that his usage has probably gone up quite a bit. Let's have a look. Yes, it's gone up from 18 to 24%. So that is significant. But yeah, I don't think his numbers jump out in the sort of traditional most improved way. But I mean, I think we both don't necessarily just value numbers for how we judge a lot of these awards. It's about like impact. And I think he's just had such an impact on this Indiana team. He's the hub of their offense. He's a really good defender. They're like, if you look at all the teams in the East, they're the team who is ranked highest, who still has like any maneuverability. I would say 1 through 7 are all like tapped out in terms of like, all right, this is
your team.
This is the team that we're going to be making a push with. Which for the Miamis and the New Yorks and the Phillies, that's like, it's a bit of a concern. Indiana are like, okay, well, we're starting to play good. We've got so many tradable pieces. We've got. I think they have all their picks, don't they? Like they got all their future draft assets. They can, they can move up, they can move down, they can move sideways. And so for him to be elevating this team that's really like not set yet, and below them are teams that are, like Atlanta, even the Washington Wizards are teams that have like capped themselves out basically in terms of using all their assets, and they're worse than Indiana. And I just think he's just such a central part of their success.
Yeah, it's nice that they've just got a point guard for the next 10 years who's going to lead the league in assists.
Legitimately.
He's probably going to win. While I don't like the third-year player that gets more minutes, he's probably going to win, and he's probably going to deserve it because he's improved a lot. I've gone with Luka Doncic as my second place most improved player. Just for like I said in the MVP discussion, the jump from MVP candidate to bigger MVP candidate. Like, you were already one of the 3 best players in the world, and now you've just added 4 points to your game. You've added a little. Actually, I fucking listed it. I may as well read it. He has gone from 28.4 points to 33.8. He's upped his field goal percentage from 46 to 50%. He's still got the 9 assists, 9 rebounds, but nearly 1 less turnover a night. And free throw attempts has gone up from 7.5 a night to 11.3, which is a lot of free throw attempts. It's this is more just a little bit of an edgy pick because I'm a prick. But yeah, I've gone with Larry Marketing third. You've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander third. I think we can assume Tyrese probably going to win.
Yeah, I think Larry and I think Shai will both get a lot of votes. Look, Luka. I don't like the like established star pick for this award. I think it is like
nobody to someone.
Yeah, and like if you look at, I think we've discussed this in the past. If you look at like the past 15 winners, and I'll get it up while I make this point. Like 14 of the 15 were went from not an all-star to an all-star, either in the season of their MIP season or the season after. And I think that's sort of, that's who the award belongs to now. Ryan Anderson was the last player to win most improved and not be an all-star.
Was CJ an all-star?
Oh wait, fuck, true. Wait, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe it was CJ then.
CJ then, Ryan.
No, yeah, it's CJ. It was CJ. Yeah. Damn, God.
Trivia shame. I
got egg on my face. But yeah, I feel like that's who the award should recognise. That being said, the case for Luka is so good. And the fact that he can be getting better at that level of the game. Like we said it in the MVP sort of discussions, the 46 to 50% field goal percentage is actually really, that's somehow the most impressive bit for me. Because he really felt like one of those guards who would hover under 50%. It's no, he's probably going to be like a LeBron who you can just guarantee is going to hit 50% of his shots on any given night.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked. Next award, Coach of the Year. Arguably one of the hardest awards to fucking give.
And we've gone all over the shop here.
Yeah, we share a mic. I've gone with Michael Malone for the winner.
Hey, 2 Mikes, 2 Wills, and a Joe. Just spoiler alert.
Nah, that's Michael, not Mike. You can't call him Mike. I've gone with Michael
I've
Malone.
gone whatever I bloody like. I've gone with William Green.
Yeah, if the Nuggets end up with the best seed in the whole entire planet, then there's a pretty fucking fat case there. And a little bit of, again, rewarding the career for having them just play so well during the bubble. Really good chemistry team, a team that's just never had any issues whatsoever, and everyone seems to love everyone. And yeah, Bruce Brown just comes in and they're like, oh, he's a backup point guard, and he fucking is. Michael Malone, why have you gone with William Green?
I mean, this is going to be, in one way, my homer pick for the pod, because, you got to make hay while the sun is shining, Sean. You would know that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's been about 7 years.
In the Golden State. But, like, he's just picked up where he left off last year, Like, we had such an incredible run at the end in terms of play. Snuck into the play-in, really, really good playoff series. Now that Zion has come back, we are just genuinely one of the best teams in the West.
Yeah.
But what I think is most impressive is, like, we've so many missed games from Zion and Brandon Ingram, and we are still sitting third in the West. Just one. Oh, well, actually, it would be half a game above Sacramento after their win over the Lakers today. And, we are losing games against good teams without those two. We got blown out by the Miami Heat today.
Yeah.
But to sort of just like maintain a team, to have a team maintain their position in the standings without 2 fucking all-star level players is so impressive. And I think it really does come down to coaching. It's not like, he's...
Larry Nance isn't doing it.
Yeah. And like, CJ's good, but yeah, CJ's not scoring 40 a night to lift this team out of the doldrums. It's a real team effort.
Yeah. Jacques Vaughn is big up in this award, and I've given him the 2022-23 not Steve Nash of the year, because I don't think they've been doing anything different other than just liking their coach.
I mean, he's been running plays.
Has he? Second, I've got Joe Mazzulla. That's royal family that he recognises Joe Mazzulla. I didn't want to put him on there just for that fucking stupid.
That might be why I didn't put him on there.
But yeah, when you're on Twitter and you'll just run across someone who's just like, here's some plays from last night, a thread, and then it's the thread emoji. All fucking Boston shit's so cool, and so complicated, and every single one. I mean, it also goes to the roster construction. Every single guy on that roster just can run a DHO, can run. Yeah, apart from Bob Williams, can be the ball handler or the screener. Obviously Malcolm Brogdon coming in, just being like a steady hand off the bench helps a lot. Just a lot of grown ups there, and Joe Mazzulla's just picked up right where Ime Udoka left off.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. But there is a bit of he picked up where Ime Udoka left off.
Yeah,
this was a good team.
enough.
They're not playing like a completely different brand of basketball.
Yeah.
Maybe they are such a good X's and O team because they have like, they had an assistant coach for their head coach last season, and now they've got like an assistant's assistant.
Yeah, just a bunch of nerds taking over the team.
Yeah, exactly right. But yeah, I think there's a lot of just carrying over what Ime was doing last season.
Fair enough. I'll fucking cop that. Who's your second?
My second pick is Mike Brown, formerly of the Golden State Warriors and now the Sacramento Kings.
The Beam team.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even have to talk about how he's coached. He has just turned the league's basket case into a playoff team. And I feel pretty confident saying they're going to be the 5 seed this year.
You feel confident saying that?
Very confident.
Look at the fucking seedings. I don't think you should, because they're like, they're 4th right now, but they're like a game above 8 or whatever.
But they just don't. They just look like they're just winning big games. They're winning big games. They're winning small games, which is
they're on a 6-game win streak at the moment.
Yeah.
They beat the Lakers today,
and like the Ox and the Fox. They're really getting their flowers now as well. Like,
Unless you used to say it as a joke, and now you're giving him flowers.
I'm seriously saying it. Like he's looked at a roster that maybe isn't when he was hired, I was almost like, all right, is this like a Stan Van Gundy to the Pelicans thing? Where it's like, okay, you're hiring like the guy who was the defensive coach on a really, really good defensive team that had a lot of good defenders, and you're putting him on a team that has such bad defense, and they do. They're, I think, 5th worst defense in the NBA.
Yeah.
But he's obviously just so much more well-rounded than that. And they're the 3rd best offensive team in the league, as they should be. As they should be with the roster they have. With like,
But he was a defensive hire.
yeah. But when Stan Van Gundy came into the Pels, it was like, all right, well, your coaching style isn't going to work because you don't have the like hard-nosed personalities. You don't have like this plethora of good defenders that you need.
Yeah.
Like. Where he really thrived was in Orlando with Dwight Howard, one of the best defensive centers of his generation.
Yeah.
And in Detroit, where like that's bloody the Motor City or whatever.
They call it Car World.
Yeah, Car World. I believe that's what they call it in Michigan. But yeah, he like understands the strengths and weaknesses of this team, and I think really is just maximizing every player. Like Fox is playing best basketball of his career. Sabonis is playing best basketball of his career.
Kevin Huerter,
like, just has... I think he just has so much more to unlock in his game as well.
Yeah.
Like, he was just not getting to explore in Atlanta.
Yeah. He's got a massive green light before it was like, hold on, wait till Trades dribbled it for 14 seconds.
Yeah. And then you catch and shoot. And now, he's doing nice stuff off the dribble. Like, his off-ball movement's really good. He's really solid passer as well. Like, if he's sort of like your 3rd best playmaker on the floor, and the other 2 are De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, like you're in really, really good hands.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think Mike Brown just deserves a lot of credit for sort of recognizing that in all those players.
I've given Mike Brown my 3rd place vote for the thing you said first, which was just like, how the fuck are the Kings a playoff team? Like at some point you just have to recognize like you're a good coach. They haven't had a good coach in a long time. Who's your 3rd place vote?
I got Will Hardy, and it's just a fun pick. I think.
It's such a hard award.
It is, and I think like again, similar as what I was saying earlier in the pod. Will Hardy is not going to be in the Coach of the Year conversation when we get
once
around.
They start tanking.
Yeah, but he deserves credit for their incredible start. And also just like, a roster that when you just looked at it on paper at the beginning of the year before you'd seen anyone play together, you're like, this is weird. Like, I don't know how this is going to work. And now you watch him and you're like, oh, he's getting... similar to what I was saying about Sacramento, he's getting something out of every player there. Like, he knows what all those guards and wings strengths and weaknesses are. All of the bigs he have are so like top and bottom heavy, like Vando, amazing defender, cannot put the ball in the basket. Walker Kessler, like we said, just a real defensive linchpin. Larry Marketing cannot defend.
He's got very one-dimensional players.
Kelly Olynyk, like, he
can shoot.
He can shoot, but then he's having him like just crash the boards on every offensive possession as well, which is like, okay, he's not like a great rebounder and he's not very athletic, but he is 7 foot and really, really strong. So like if you just sort of throw him at the other team, you're going to get something out of him.
And maybe you don't want him defending in transition.
that might be part of it as well.
Let's move on to Executive of the Year. I've gone with Kobe Altman for just adding a lot of depth pieces. They signed Raul Neto, Ricky Rubio, and Robin Lopez, which might not seem like much, but I think that's the reason why they missed the playoffs last season. And while just like bolstering the rest of the roster, and just right before the season started, they just made a massive trade for a dude who, I mean, you said it should be, in the top 7 of the MVP vote, right? Whatever the number is. They traded for Donovan Mitchell. It's worked out. So, Kobe Altman, number 1. Who's your number 1?
Well, I'll just quickly say I had Kobe Altman number 2, and I think this is also a bit of just how well he's done over the last 4 years.
Not for me.
You don't think so?
I think
you're just drafted. You don't get praise for drafting the best guy in every draft.
Yeah, that and like Houston was stupid not to keep Jared Allen, and they snuck in, but that's also good Kobe Altman. I think they made the absolute wrong decision trading for Karis LeVert, and the fact that he's in trade rumors now probably confirms that. Gave up a pick, which they didn't actually give up. They just drafted a dude and then traded him to Utah because it was a lottery pick. Isaac Okoro wasn't the right guy.
Yeah. That's fair, actually. There
Colin
was most of the
Sexton.
guys
Colin
that
Sexton wasn't the right guy.
Colin Sexton, I think, I think you had to take the flyer there, like.
Yeah, and also just not trading the Colin Sexton pick when you had LeBron James.
Yeah.
There was like an offer for Paul George.
Yeah.
But this season, yeah. This season, fucking good on you.
Well, how about this? This season, he's sort of he may have fumbled his long-term plan, but this season he's executed it. He's made some good moves and bad moves. He's drafted some good plays, and this season he's been like, all right, what did I do? Okay, what's missing here? It's Raul Neto, Robin Lopez.
Well,
and
we didn't even know that they were in the Donovan Mitchell sweepstakes until 24 hours before, and it's like, that actually does work.
Yeah,
and it's fit perfectly. But why have you gone Danny Ainge number one?
I got Danny Ainge just because he just got such a good haul for his two superstars who
aren't that good.
Yeah, and also their stock wasn't that great coming out of that season. Rudy Gobert. I mean, whatever you say about him, I've had a lot to say about him. There are issues with him being on your team when you get to the playoffs. Donovan Mitchell, he had a fine season, but there was also okay, what's he like at the end of games? What's his character?
Yeah.
But I think that was just purely the awful atmosphere that was in Utah.
Yeah.
And so you got an amazing haul from that. More than that, I think he's just maximized every single asset he got in that trade. He's got every single player that he traded for that kind of felt, in those big trades you forget who those guys are. You're like Larry Markkinen, he's just salary. Larry Markkinen is the best player in his team. He's going to make the All-Star team over Rudy Gobert, for example. Then even things moving Pat Bev for Taylor Horton-Tucker, and who was the other piece in there? And it's okay, THT's...
Stanley Johnson? You got one?
Yeah. I mean, waving Stanley Johnson, genius move. But, THT's just having a sneaky okay season in a very deep roster where he doesn't have to do much, but just looks so much better than he looked in LA. And you just see that with every single player on this roster. Now the thing is, he could just fall off this perch if he doesn't pull the trigger and put them into tank mode. If you make all these good moves, you get all these players playing well, you get teams interested. Malik Beasley's gonna
go somewhere.
Command some sort of good trade. If you wanted to trade Jordan Clarkson, you could definitely get a first, if not more, for him. Now you need to do it. 41 games is into the season.
You've won 20. Fucking Houston's won 10. You've got some ground to make up.
Yeah, exactly right. Maybe you're not even in the French Kid sweepstakes, but this isn't the team you're going forward with.
This isn't. That's 100%. I've put Danny Ainge second for that reason. Because I think it was pretty clear that the goal was to tank, and I think he's failed at doing that goal. He's done a great job at selling super, super high on the two guys he had. And also just being able to bluff the whole market, being we traded Rudy Gobert for a massive haul, but we're happy keeping Donovan Mitchell. And then you turn around and get 4 first-round picks plus the dude that was just drafted. It's okay, you did a good job there. But I think he has failed at trying to if you're grading him towards taking steps towards becoming a championship contender, took a massive step forward, but then not being able to act fast enough took a little bit of a step back.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah,
I could still put him one though. Who have you done for 3?
I got Calvin Booth of the Denver Nuggets.
Just put a perfect roster around Denver.
Yeah, look, man, you can say you're at 500 for re-signing Jokic, but you still did it. As you were saying when you were talking about Michael Malone, sorry.
How dare
Brucey Brown. Brucer Brown is just such a good fit, and then the KCP trade, which I think it is a trade that has worked out for both parties, but KCP is just contributing so much more.
It's just a championship player.
And he is also just the perfect running mate for Jokic.
It's so hot.
Good perimeter defender, spot up 3-point shooter. Will do what he's told. So
shoot 48% from 3.
Yeah, and then also I think we talked about it on opening night. The Cronkies, the Crankies, were there. Them letting go of Tim Connolly was that
The money thing.
Yeah, was that we're not willing to spend on this team to win a championship. And like that, I guess the jury's still out on that, but you know, Calvin Booth has still made championship moves.
Yeah.
Like he's made moves to make this team better. It's not like he's been selling or anything like that.
Yeah, he's also still in a position to dodge the tax.
Yeah.
So we'll judge it by the end of the season.
Well, you know, if they win the championship and they dodge the tax, oh my bloody god.
But yeah, it would be so fucked because then every single other owner is going to be like, oh, it's possible.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's just get rid of everything.
Yeah. Then the league's terrible.
That's also fucking such a downside for the Cronkies because they just hire such good people. They had Masai Ujiri, they didn't want to pay him. He went to Toronto. Okay, cool. Here's Tim Connolly. Oh, he's the best GM in the league. Oh, you want to pay him? Okay, we'll just hire his replacement. Oh, he put together a championship.
Yeah. So who's going to come knocking on Calvin Booth's door in 2 years?
Yeah, and then the next dude's just going to be fine. Yeah. My third place is also Calvin Booth. I wrote Joe Cronin because, again, I was being a prick. I was like, oh yeah, the Jeremy Grant trade worked out so well. They traded, the 25th pick. And then I fucking checked the standings and they're 3 games under 500.
You were right, they made good moves.
The team's
not a good
fucked.
team.
Yeah. Gary Payton too. He played basketball the other day. Shaden Sharp.
So they're telling me.
Whatever.
He'll be in the dunk contest though.
Oh, okay. No, so my third is
actually my first.
They re-signed Nurk and Anth, but that seemed sort of fait accompli once Joe Cronin took over and just said, "Yeah, we want you to rest because we're going to tank, but you're going to get paid the second free agency opens." Actually, the second that Jalen Brunson gets fucking paid because it's like, oh, we're allowed to report these 6 hours earlier. All right, we have 2 funny awards and we're almost done. If you're listening, thank you for still listening.
Yeah.
Who is your not executive of the year?
I got Tim Connolly first, and my tongue is a little bit my cheek putting him first because, you know...
It's hard to judge with the injuries and...
Yeah. But, look, the situation in Mini is just not good at all.
No.
Like, he has put so many assets into Rudy, and you could argue Cat as well. There's a lot of money on the table for Cat, and... Yet I feel quite confident in saying they literally look better with neither of them in the lineup. Like
Naz Reid looks pretty good.
Yeah, well, but as in that like maximizes, you know, the best player on the team, Anthony Edwards' potential, or at least, you know, the player with the most potential.
Yeah.
You know, even I was watching a bit of the game against the Nuggets today, and Jaden McDaniels is so good, like defensively. I think he had a possession where he blocked Jamal Murray, got the rebound, passed it off, relocated to the corner, hit a 3-pointer in Jamal Murray's face.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, I mean, it's not about Jamal Murray in the situation, but like it is this guy who can do it on both ends.
Yeah.
And is, you know, empowered by like the floor being spaced out and is empowered by being like the help side rim protector. Like where's the spot for him when Cat and Rudy are both on the court, let alone even one of them? Like does his defense get optimized next to Rudy? Does his offense get optimized next to Cat? Maybe not. So, I mean, that's just one example. And then, a lot of the players that made Mini good last year, like Jared Vanderbilt, traded them away.
Yeah.
So, like, you got there's subtraction by addition here, and then there's also, like, you kind of took away the backbone of this kind of nice scrappy team.
Yeah.
Everyone liked Mini before all the role players last year. Like that was kind of the appeal.
I've got Tim Connolly third, and it's like, let's just say in a parallel universe where they don't make the Rudy Gobert trade, they still have Jaden McDaniels. Obviously they do, but they would have just kept Walker Kessler, who we know is just a fine defensive center. And then you put either of them next to Cat and go, oh, how does Cat look next to a 7-footer who can just put his arms up? Oh, that's interesting. How does Cat look next to a defensive 4 who's like Paul Millsap with no jump shot? And it's like, oh, okay. It's just a bigger sample size. Maybe Cat's not the guy because we're shit both times. Or maybe Cat's better with Walker Kessler. Okay, he's better with Walker Kessler. Let's trade for Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
And because they just invested so much in Rudy Gobert to start, and obviously Lucas did that video for the Deep 2 Film Room on YouTube. You can still check it out, but we would love to know more, but the injury to Cat just makes it a little bit difficult. And that injury is going to go on for so long because it's like he had a strained something in his knee. That's just like, you don't want to fuck around with that. So it was 6 weeks, but it's like maybe 2 weeks ramp up. And it looks pretty bad. My first place is Travis Schlenk because that's the Atlanta Hawks' former lead decision maker.
Technicalities, you love him.
Yeah, if you're not the executive of the year, you probably get fired. And he wasn't fired, but he was demoted, and I doubt he wants to stay around for too long.
And when did he get demoted? Late December.
Did it? Yeah, it was. Yeah,
A bit late.
Well, actually, it was late December because only some new stuff came out in the past couple of days, which made me think it was much more recent. But it is late December. He got demoted because his name escapes me. The Atlanta Hawks owner.
Atlanta Hawks. I'm not your man.
Oh, you're on a keyboard. I don't know.
Anthony Resler?
Yeah, Anthony Resler.
It's funny, his wife comes up first. Jamie Gertz.
The wrestler, his son, something wrestler, I assume, actually had was getting more and more of a sway in that front office. And apparently this is all coming out after the fact, but Travis Schlenk wasn't happy with the DeJounte Murray trade, but it was Anthony Wrestler's son who actually wanted it to happen a little bit more. So a little bit bad. Yeah, so I don't actually think Travis Schlenk is the non-executive of the year, but
he's not the executive anymore.
Yeah, but it doesn't look good that he's been fired. Landry Fields is now the lead decision maker, but you got to imagine he stays numbered if the son's coming up through the front office. For what it's worth, Lacob's son, Joe Lacob's son, is also an assistant GM with the Golden State Warriors.
Right.
And they won a title last year. But, Travis Schlenk, just, I was talking myself into the DeJounte Murray trade in the offseason. It's just it's just a solid C. It's awesome. You have a backup point guard now behind Trey. But Trey's also not playing well. How much can we blame that on? It's the second time he's tried to get a coach fired, and then now Nate McMillan's I'm just going to retire, don't fire me. I'm going to retire at the end of the year. Let's just keep doing it. You haven't traded John Collins. You fucking signed him to that contract. What's the Hunter? DeAndre Hunter. He just hasn't panned out.
Yeah.
Onyeka Okongwu I thought was going to be a lot better than he is, but he just might be a backup center.
Yeah. Him and Capella are 0.75 centers each.
Yeah. It's one of them's got the potential to be 0.75.
Yeah.
The other one's 0.76.
Yeah. By regression as well.
And we'll talk about them in our next our next topic. Most disappointing team of the year. Any words on Travis Schlenk, or are we getting late in the eve?
I think you said it all.
Yeah.
My number 2 pick, I had Rob Pelinka, and again, it's probably a bit harsh, but it's just you just gotta pull the trigger and help LeBron James while he's on your basketball team.
I was going to put him there as well because it's okay, I understand you can only sign fucking minimums and Thomas Bryant's of the world, but you have to trade those picks.
Exactly right.
So shit that imagine if they actually don't, because all the reports the last 3 weeks have been they're waiting for the right trade. If it's the wrong trade, just do it.
Yeah. And it's getting... The reports aren't getting solid enough, quick enough as the trade deadline approaches. I am sure something will happen, but is it going to be better than Buddy Hield and Miles Turner?
Yeah. It's is AD going to be playing the 4 again?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
I actually thought in the last 3 years, these might be some of the better free agency signings they made, but that's not a glowing. That's not glowing praise of Rob Pelinka. Lonnie Walker isn't terrible. Thomas Bryant has actually been okay as the 5 next to LeBron at the 4.
Wenyan Gabriel as your backup.
Yeah, I mean, look. Any Wenyan Gabriel player is house money. He's been getting some actually really sick blocks, but that's not gonna get you another championship.
No, it's such a trade. Wow, it's so shit. Yeah. My second's Tommy Shepard. I was actually going to say you should talk about it, but you put him 3rd, so fucking I should talk about it. Just they gave away a championship player in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and I was trying to think about who's a not executive of the year, and I thought about that trade, and I thought about this and that, and I was you full signed Bradley Beal to $50 million a year with a no trade clause. The reason he's not in any trade talks right now is because he could just say no.
Yeah.
Why have you put him 3rd? Not second?
Same reason, and it's it's not just that you sign. Okay, Bradley Beal, he's your best player, he's a generational player, whatever you want to fucking say about him, but not only did you sign him to one of... Is it the most expensive contract in the league?
Yeah.
It's the most expensive first.
It was Jokic for 48 hours.
But you did it when your team was already like so up against your like, you know, your asset use. Like you've already got you got Porzingis on a buttload of money, who like nobody really wants if you're like the fit isn't working. Kyle Kuzma is really good, but like
he just requested a trade.
Yeah, he wants to leave
and said he's not going to resign.
You have this logjam at the small forward position.
No, they've got a logjam at poor shooting but volume shooting forwards.
But like, if we want to go back to the beginning of the season, you got a long jam at the small forward position, and you trade away your best small forward in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. You know, like I do get the trade, because I think Monty Morris has been like a really nice fit next to Bradley Beal, but like
he is a backup.
It's not getting you any further than where they are at the moment. And Sean, you're so right. He hits every single jump shot he ever takes,
but he just doesn't take them from behind the line. He keeps taking them, but they're very close.
They're quite deep twos actually. But you know, like, that's as much praise as I've got for that trade, because like you said, you traded away a good player and then you lose all goodwill you've generated off that by signing Bradley Beal at $50 million and an immovable $50 million as well. So and look where the Wizards are. Like, they're far down in the East, and there's no real hope of them improving this season.
I was optimistic about the Bradley Beal trade. I was like, maybe like he actually wants to be there and he can actually be good. But when he's not injured, he's been bad. It's like 18 points a game. It's like, if you're a 30-point per game scorer, it's like, okay, maybe there's something to work with here, but you're 31 or whatever. Just depressing. Speaking of depressing, our final topic, let's do the most disappointing team of the year. We've both got the Atlanta Hawks. Let me just list some things. Trey is supposed to be a mini Luka, as in the heliocentrism, but he's also supposed to be the best three-point shooter in the league, and he's not. DeJounte Murray is a tricky fit at the best of the times, but also I don't know whether the juice is worth the squeeze, because I think he is just an average point guard who's got a cool name. None of the draft picks have worked out that we've talked about. Cam Reddish is obviously about to get traded to his third team. Nate McMillan is retiring or getting fired. It's just a sad race to see what happens there. And that's all the points I've written down. Why are you just miserable at the Atlanta Hawks?
I wanted to be so positive about that trade when it happened, because I liked DeJounte Murray, you know, and I was like, oh, cool, put two guys who can average 10 assists each on the same team. They'll work something out, surely. And they just haven't. They just haven't. Like, their offense, it's like the numbers say a lot, but also like just watching them is so dreadful. Like you just, I can't think of a single good offensive play this year where Trae Young and DeJounte Murray both touch the ball. It just doesn't happen. Trae isn't this like amazing off-ball, threat that we thought he could be. He's shooting like, what is he, 31% from three or something like that. It's atrocious. They should, with those guys on the team, they should be like top 5 in assists or something, and they're 21st. Like, they're just not moving the ball for a team that, like, say what you want about Trae. Like, he loves gobbling up shots, but he also does love setting his teammates up, and he's just not doing that this season, like, in a meaningful way.
I also feel bad for Bogdan Bogdanovic, because he's the only one on the team who's actually trying. Like, he's actually like really trying to move the ball. I would love to see him in like just a better situation where it's like, oh, this is called a pass, and sometimes you receive him, and sometimes if you give him, you might receive it back on the same possession. That
is just the most foreign concept to Trae Young. He has no idea what that means.
Second, I've got Miami Heat, and then third, Golden State Warriors. What do you got second and third?
I got Los Angeles Clippers and Minnesota Timberwolves.
Street clothes Leonard and street clothes George. I
was so hot on the Clippers coming in just because I was like, look, Paul George and Kawhi, they're injured. You still got like 3 of the league's best 40 wings on the team, and they just don't.
Terrence Mann's just not that fun.
Norman Powell, way too up the 6th man of the year odds for.
For someone who like didn't make a shot. Miami Heat, they're just depressing to watch. If they're not the number 1 seed and just playing like perfectly executed basketball, it's like, oh, this is kind of, you guys are old, and Tyler Hero and Bam are gonna be there for the next 7 years, but it's like, it's not fun.
And not fun to watch either,
Not fun at all. And Udonis Haslem, every time he comes on fucking TV and Doris Burke talks about him, I get so frustrated. My blood boils. Just, pull a Nate McMillan and get fired or retired.
Yeah.
But Golden State Warriors have been disappointing for obvious reasons. The young guys were supposed to step up. They didn't, breaking news.
No.
Jordan Poole's having just like a very bad season, as we talked about. We were missing Andrew Wiggins for a long time, which really just hurt our depth. And then, I mean, I think I love Anthony Lamb as much as the next person, but I don't want to watch him play basketball. Yeah, it's just it is a championship hangover. Plus, we just don't have as good a roster. There's no Otto Porter Jr. and Gary Payton and Damian Lee, who are just consistent replacement level players.
Yeah.
Which really hurts because Steph Curry's playing at an MVP level and Draymond's at a DPoY level. We didn't even mention him in that chat.
We actually did not mention him, and I think it's just because if you're not playing on league best defense, then it's hard to recognize.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Minnesota? Have we kicked them three times?
I've said most of it, but I thought at the very least that this team would be a regular season juggernaut.
Me too. I predicted them for nearly 60 wins.
Yeah.
I said Rudy Gobert just makes you a great defense.
Yeah. So, I was excited to see how it would work. Like, even if it was just immediately obvious that it wouldn't work in the playoffs, that was my prediction, is like, first 3 games, they'll look great, and you'll see exactly why it won't work in the playoffs. And it never eventuated. Like, we haven't seen good Timberwolves basketball this year.
Yeah, I don't know what their best case scenario is.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all the awards and some. Marco, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It has been an absolute treat.
It's been my pleasure, Sean. I've had the time of my life. Despite that one snafu.
Yeah, not only did you ask me what number does it start with, you also gave me some Greek mythology. I had actually completely forgot about the snafu. Yeah, we talked for 47 minutes and it almost got deleted.
Yeah. And then we've added another 38 on top of that. Cop that, podcast world.
That's why we had a Virgin Jaeger bomb. So I'll speak to you probably in the next couple of weeks.
Looking forward to it.
If you look for PointsBet's stock exchange listing, you'll find a bucket of jargon and doublespeak as they're considered a, quote, wagering services operator, unquote. That's a corporate stretch for the colloquial friendly Brogan or, hey, look, it's Chris Bosh kind of image they're sending off with their targeted advertising. I don't know about you, but take me back to the days when former pro sports players signed brand deals with hair loss clinics or Fujitsu aircons, not, quote, wagering service providers.
If you're scrolling through your Facebook feed and you come across the 2 of our faces morphed into one, would that make you listen to our podcast more? I mean, if it does, let us know and we'll start doing it. But when I see a few NBA players' faces morphed into one, it doesn't make me want to pull out my wallet and donate some money to my local wagering services provider.
The worst part is we're coming to accept it. Wagering service provider ads are so ingrained in our sports and the way sports is delivered to us, it's almost impossible to avoid. 3/4 of Australian children aged between 8 and 16 years who watch sport think that betting on sport is normal and can name one or more sport betting companies. When I was in school, I was struggling to remember Pokemon names, and I'd be furious if I knew that brain power was being used to put towards wagering service providers and not them.
The wagering service providers know exactly who to target. It's not okay to let them ingrain themselves in young Australians' minds. It's not okay to target people in the middle of a pandemic, and it's not okay for gambling companies to wield so much influence in the world of sports. To help kick gambling out of sport, use your voice and sign the petition at www.endgamblingads.org.au/petition.